What does chaos look like? Can it be demonstrated on stage using words and action? The world of Elsinore hums with intrigue. Words weigh heavy, and appearances can be deceiving. In this part of Hamlet, we watch people perform and see how gestures matter and how even the smallest action can stir the mind. It's going to take a while, for it is the longest scene of the play. Let's grab that cup of coffee then, and let me get you through Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2. We are back in the king's court. King Claudius, surrounded by his attendants and all, his queen obviously by his side, and two characters, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, characters who will inspire a playwright to write an entire play, casting them as the principal characters hundreds of years later. Tom Stoppard. But that's a different story. Let's come back to Hamlet. Welcome, dear Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Who are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern? They are friends of Hamlet. They've grown up together. Why is Claudius so interested in them? Because, again, the same thing. Everybody wants to observe Hamlet. Everybody wants to keep an eye on Hamlet. And they try to grab whoever they can to achieve that end. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are going to serve that purpose for Claudius. Moreover, that we much did long to see you. So he first says that he can't just say that, see, I want you to spy on my stepson or nephew. So he says that I really wanted to see you too. The need we have to use you did provoke our hasty sending. So he says two things, that we wanted to see you and I called you so fast because I also had a different work in mind for you. Something, have you heard of Hamlet's transformation? They are not using the word madness directly. Claudius rather uses the word transformation. So call it, sith not the exterior nor the inward man resembles that it was. So Hamlet doesn't look like he used to look. He doesn't behave like he used to behave. So he has changed inside out. What it should be more than his father's death, that thus hath put him so much from the understanding of himself I cannot dream of. So he thinks that his father has died, that's tragedy, but he wants to know if there is anything else. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are going to prove to be tools of surveillance, just as Polonius makes Ophelia his tool of surveillance, like that. I entreat you both, I request you both, that being of so young days brought up with him, you grew up together, and sit so neighbored to his youth and behavior. So you are familiar with Hamlet's behavior, Hamlet's nature and all, that you vouchsafe your rest here in our court some little time. So I want you to stay here for some time, observe him, in a way act as my eyes and my ears. So, by your companies to draw him onto pleasures and to gather so much as from occasion you may glean, whatever occasion you get, you try to get from him, whether aught to us unknown afflicts him thus. Tell us, why is he behaving in this way? So, his tone is that of a concerned adult, a concerned guardian, but we don't know if this concern is really a fatherly concern, or Claudius wants to make sure that Hamlet is not plotting anything against him. That opened lies within our remedy. So once the case is opened in front of us, you give us information, we can do things to make him feel better. Gertrude, her speeches has always been, at least from the beginning, mere echoes of what Claudius says. Claudius says something, Gertrude repeats. Okay, the same thing is happening here. She's saying the same thing over again. Good gentleman, he hath much talked of you, and sure I am two men there are not living to whom he more adheres. So you two are very close to him. She doesn't know anything. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are not that close, also. Rather, I would say Horatio is closer to Hamlet. Okay? Anyway, maybe she wants them to feel good, so she's saying in this way. If it will please you to show us so much gentry and goodwill as to expend your time with us a while, so spend your time here. For the supply and profit of our hope, your visitation shall receive such thanks as fits a king's remembrance, so you will be rewarded and all. So she gives an additional incentive to them to work for them. So she is just being an echo of Claudius. And being an echo of Claudius, she is being less of a mother, more like a queen. If she had been a mother, why would she require Hamlet's friends to make her understand her son? It's her son. Claudius is okay, he is a distant person, he's not his father. But Gertrude is Hamlet's mother. But she is also like a stranger to Hamlet, and she also needs the assistance of Hamlet's friends to make her understand why her son is behaving the way he is. Rosencrantz replies, both your majesty's might, by the sovereign power you have of us, put your dread pleasures into more into command than to entreaty. Why are you saying please and all, requesting us? You can just order us. But we both obey, Guildenstern is saying. They are like two twins, they're not twin brothers, but they behave like twins. And here give up ourselves in the full bent to lay our service freely at your feet to be commanded. So they offered their services. Thanks, Rosencrantz and gentle Guildenstern. Thanks, Guildenstern and gentle Rosencrantz. Same kind of echoing thing happening here. So they want them to go and visit Hamlet. Now, after Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, and the attendants they leave, you can clearly understand that another segment begins. As I told you already, this is one of the longest scenes, or rather, the longest scene of the play. Since it is set in one place, so it is one scene in King Claudius's court. But the thing is that this scene does not give you only one piece of action. The first segment is the conversation between the king, the queen, and Rosencrantz Guildenstern. The second segment is entirely focused on a different set of characters, but you will notice that there is always somebody on the stage. Like right now, Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, some attendants are going away, but the king and the queen are still there. Okay? So you can't put the curtain down. So the scene continues. Now comes Polonius. What news does he have? We all know what news he has. But here he's giving news about Norway, not about Hamlet's madness. The ambassadors from Norway, my good lord, are joyfully returned. Why did they send ambassadors to Norway? To tell Fortinbras' uncle to control his nephew. All right, you remember that part? Thou still hast been the father of good news. Have I, my lord? I assure my good liege, I hold my duty as I hold my soul. Now he talks a lot, trust me, especially when he is in company of royal people. He tries to show his linguistic skills, his weight, and everything. Sometimes he loses track of what he's saying, but he goes on talking a lot. So he says all these things, to my gracious king, and I do think, or else this brain of mine hunts not the trail of policy, so sure as it hath used to do, that I have found the very cause of Hamlet's lunacy. So first he talks about Norway, then he talks about Hamlet. Oh, speak of that. That do I long to hear. So, what do you have as explanation? But Polonius says that no, that's like the main course. Let's have the starter first. Starter is the news about Norway. And he actually makes that kind of a comparison here. My news shall be the fruit to that great feast. It will be like dessert. All right, Claudius says, bring them in. The ambassadors are coming. Before that, of course, we have Polonius exiting the stage And we have Gertrude and Claudius on stage. And we are paying extra attention now because they are talking to each other. And we might get some information about what is actually going on here. He tells me, "My dear Gertrude," the king says to his queen, "he hath found the hidden source of all your sons' distemper." He's not saying our sons, okay? It's like he's mad, so he's your son. I doubt it is no other but the main. Gertrude knows that the reason why Hamlet is behaving in this way is his father's death. His father's death and our over hasty marriage. Well, we shall sift him. We'll see. We'll just try to understand him. Now, Polonius comes in with these ambassadors, Voltimand and Cornelius. Voltimand and Cornelius were on this Norway mission, and Voltimand says, I'll just give you a gist of the speech because it's not very, very significant in that way, but you just need to know about what Voltimand says. He says that Fortinbras, that is the hot headed Norway young guy, he was scolded by his uncle, and he promised never again to attack King of Denmark. And because of this behavior, the King of Norway, he got pleased with his nephew, and he allowed him a yearly payment of 3,000 crowns and also allowed him to use the same soldiers to fight against Poland. So, a different enemy here. So, in a way, we can say a peace settlement is found from this segment. King Claudius is very happy. The Voltimand and Cornelius, they move out. Now, the dessert. Polonius. "This business is well ended, my liege and madame, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is." Now he's trying to flatter the king, saying that you have been so great in your governance, you have managed to secure peace, you have managed to suppress a foreign enemy. Why, day is day, night, night, and time is time, where nothing but to waste night, day, and time. What is the meaning of all this? Don't even bother trying to understand these words, because at one point Polonius loses track of what he is saying. And this is how his character emerges rather as a comic relief. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, now this is quite an irony, because the person who is saying that brevity, that is being brief, to the point, is usually the hallmark of a witty person. If you are an intelligent person, you don't speak a lot. He is saying this while speaking a lot. And tediousness, the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. He is still not coming to the point, and he is constantly saying that I will come to the point, I will be very brief, because I know witty people are brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is it but to be nothing else but mad? Again, don't try to get into the meaning of these words. Let that go. Now, Gertrude is frustrated. She has had enough. More matter with less art. So, what you're doing, Mr. Polonius, is you're going on talking and talking and talking in an artificial manner without any matter. Please come up with some matter. Madam, I swear, I use no art at all. That he is mad? It is true. It is true. It is pity. And pity it is. It is true. Oh, foolish figure. But farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad, let us grant him then. Let's call him mad. And now remains that we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say the cause of this defect. For this effect defective comes by cause, that it remains, and the remainder thus spent. I have a daughter, have while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience, mark, hath given me this. Now he is showing them some letters. Finally, what he's saying is, I have a daughter who has given me these things. And before that, he says, mark, she has given me, how obedient she is. Now gather and surmise. Now you see, you check. What is there here written? So Polonius treats Hamlet and Ophelia both as cases to be presented. Okay? Hamlet's madness has already become a puzzle to solve. And Ophelia's private letter becomes a public evidence. Who is presenting? Her father, her own father. And he's reading it out. Just imagine. To the celestial and my soul's idol. It's a love letter from Hamlet to Ophelia. The most beautified Ophelia. And then he's commenting on it. Just look at the audacity of this father. That's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase. Why beautified is a vile phrase? Because beautified means something added to what is naturally given by God. So, beautified means you have added makeup, which is a bad thing, but you shall hear thus. And then he goes on reading. Just look at the lines he's reading. The father reading love letter of his daughter in front of the king in her excellent white bosom, these and see. How can he do this? This is like, it's a serious violation of Ophelia's privacy. He is treating her as his property. And Ophelia, just imagine, she is spoken about, written about, and read aloud, but never allowed to speak. So, this is a very comic way of presenting a very horrid situation, isn't it? So, if somebody says Polonius is a comic figure, Shakespeare is showing us the extent of darkness that comedy can reach. Came this from Hamlet to her? Gertrude is interested. Good madam, stay a while. I will be faithful. And he goes on reading. Doubt thou the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. O dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans. So Hamlet is writing a very passionate letter to Ophelia. But that I love the best, O most best, believe it, adieu. Thine evermore, most dear lady, whilst this machine is to him Hamlet. This, in obedience, hath my daughter shown me. This is like a victory for Polonius, that his daughter is choosing him over this lover. And this incriminating evidence is handed over by Ophelia. And more above hath his solicitings, as they fell out by time, by means and place, all given to mine ear, whatever solicitings, whatever words Hamlet said to her, everything, she came and told to Polonius. But how had she received his love? So, did their relationship progress? So, it's like Polonius is seeing his daughter as an extension of his moral standing. And this, reinforces a pattern in the play. The way Polonius replies that when Claudius asks him, did the relationship proceed? He says, what do you think of me? So, my daughter's behavior is a reflection of my teachings. So, it's like women are bearers, or at least they are treated to be bearers of male honor, because Ophelia's action is a reflection of her father's teachings. So Claudius says that you are a faithful person, as of a man faithful and honorable. I would fain prove so, but what might you think when I had seen this hot love on the wing? As I perceived it, I must tell you that before my daughter told me, so I understood before she told me. What might you, or my dear majesty, or queen here think? I thought then, when I knew this, before she told me, that what would the king think? What would the queen think? If I had played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, how could I be just, silent observer of this scandal? I know how you would feel about this, or looked upon this love with idle sight. What might you think? No, I went round to work. So I took initiative to break this affair because I know you wouldn't approve of it. And my young mistress, thus I did bespeak, and I told my girl, Lord Hamlet is a prince out of thy star. This must not be. And then I precepts gave her. I gave her the wisdom I had, the rules that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done she took the fruits of my advice. She followed my advice, and he repulsed a short tale to make, fell into a sadness, then into a fast, thence to a watch, thence into a weakness. So after my girl refused to be with him, he first became sad, then he deteriorated, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness wherein now he raves, and all we mourn for. So then he has become mad because of this uh, sustained lack of reciprocation from my daughter. Do you think it's this? Claudius is still not sure. Queen says, this could be. It may be, very likely. Hath there been such a time, I'd fain to know that I have positively said 'tis so when it proved otherwise. So Polonius says that, um, has it ever happened that I told something is happening and it didn't happen? So King says, no, you are mostly right about all things. And then Polonius is pointing to his head and his shoulder, and he says, take this from this. That means you cut my head off. If this be otherwise. So if I'm wrong, you just behead me. If circumstances lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed within the center. Wherever truth is hiding, I'll always find it out. How may we try it further? So, if you are saying this could be the cause, and then Polonius says that I can give you more explanation. He says, let's find this truth out. So King says that he wants to try it further. So he wants to have some more evidence. Now Polonius gives him a plan. You know, sometimes he walks 4 hours together here in the lobby. So there's a lobby in the palace. So he does indeed. At such a time, I'll lose my daughter to him. What kind of a word is lose? It's like Ophelia is like a bait. The verb lose is so chilling here. The language strips her of any kind of agency. She is reduced to be a tool of political and psychological experimentation. Lose, I will let lose my daughter. So, what should have been an emotional exchange? See, Hamlet is walking in the lobby, Ophelia is coming to talk to him. It could have been an emotional exchange. It's basically a stage trap. Be you and I behind an arras then. Apollonius's habit of hiding behind curtain, arras is going to cost him his life in future, in very short future. You will all know very soon. But that's a different story again. He's planning to hide behind an arras with the king and spy on private encounter between Hamlet and Ophelia. Mark the encounter. If he love her not, and be not from his reason fallen thereon, let me be no assistant for a state, but keep a farm and carters. If I am not right, then I have no right to be a courtier. We will try it. Claudius says, fine. Gertrude sees that Hamlet is approaching that room, and she says, but look where sadly the poor wretch comes reading. Polonius decides to stay back on stage. So notice the stage is not empty. King Claudius, Gertrude, they go away. Polonius stays back. So this is segment 3, Polonius and Hamlet. How does my good Lord Hamlet? Well, God a mercy. So Hamlet has entered the stage, is reading something. Do you know me, my lord? Excellent well. You are a fishmonger. Now, the thing is that apparently this sounds like a mad statement. Obviously, Polonius is not a fishmonger, he is a courtier. But Hamlet says you're a fishmonger. Now, technically, he's not entirely wrong. If you just think about fish as flesh, and monger is a dealer, so a flesh dealer, that is a pimp kind of a person. Isn't Polonius doing a very similar thing, turning his own daughter into an object, dealing with her, using her? So, yes, he is a fishmonger in that sense. Not I, my lord. Then I would you were so honest a man. So, compared to Polonius, even a fishmonger is an honest person. A real fishmonger is obviously honest, Even a flesh dealer is an honest person. Honest, my lord? What do you mean by honest? I said, to be honest, as this world goes, is to be one man picked out of 10,000. Out of 10,000 people, you will find an honest man. That's very true, my lord. For if the sun breed maggots in a dead dog, being a god kissing carrion, suddenly he gives a very horrid image. He says, now why does he say this? He literally says that the sun, or rather, when there's a dead dog and its wound is exposed to the sunlight, then maggots are born. Maggots are those worms which are found in carcasses and wounds. Very disgusting image, okay? Now, sun, which is usually a source of life, here becomes a source of life for the maggots. But maggots are connected with death. The sun, which is a god, okay, like at this moment when there's a dead dog exposed to sunlight, what is sun doing? The sun is kissing that dead body, kissing the carrion. That means in this world everything is decaying so much that even when you are a god, you have no other option but to get in touch with that vileness. So you can't afford to keep yourself distant, removed from the vileness. We can understand this way because we know what's going on in his mind, but Polonius is clearly confused. He is more confused because right after this, abruptly, Hamlet asks him, have you a daughter? I have, my lord. Let her not walk in the sun. Sun. Sun, it can mean Hamlet himself. So let her not come to Hamlet. Why? Because Hamlet is now forced to come in contact with the vileness around him. He is not that god anymore. He has kissed the carrion. Carrion is the dirt of this world, the pollution of the state. So, sun here means the ideal which has fallen. From a different perspective, let her not walk in the sun means keep her indoors. Why? Because everybody is corrupt outside. They will corrupt her. Conception is a blessing. Conception means carrying a child. You know, it's like you're going to produce a baby. It's a good thing. But if your daughter does it, it's going to be a scandal because she's not married. But not as your daughter may conceive. So, see, Hamlet's words are full of meaning that we can understand if we give some time. But apparently, they appear to be very, very loosely fit together, inconsistent, like words of a madman. Okay, friend, look to it. The moment Hamlet is talking about his daughter, Polonius says in an aside where Hamlet can't hear him, but we can as audience. How say you by that? Still harping on my daughter? Yet he knew me not at first. First, he did not recognize me. He said I was a fishmonger. He is far gone, far gone. He has become mad. He can't recognize me at first. And truly, in my youth, I suffered much extremity for love. He is saying that he was also madly in love when he was young. Very near this. I don't believe him. Okay, you can if you want. I'll speak to him again. What do you read, my lord? Remember, Hamlet had entered the stage carrying a book. So, what are you reading? Words, words, words. What is the matter, my lord? Now, this is like Shakespeare is playing on this word matter. He is asking him what is the content of the book, the matter of the book. But the way he is putting the sentence, Hamlet understands it as what's the matter with you? Okay. Between who? Matter between who? I mean, the matter that you read, my lord? Slander, sir. For the satirical rogue says here, so he was reading a satire. And usually we all know that satires have a lot of scandals, social scandals in them. So he explains to Polonius what he is reading. For the satirical rogue says here that old men have grey beards, that their faces are wrinkled. Now, while he is saying this, we can understand very well that it is not written in the book. He's just making fun of Polonius, who is an old man, is actually describing Polonius, saying that the old men have grey beards, faces are wrinkled, their eyes purging thick amber and plum tree gum, and that they have a plentiful lack of wit. They don't have intelligence or wit. Together with most weak hams, even their hamstrings, their muscles are weak. All which, sir, though I most powerfully and potently believe, yet I hold it not honestly to have it thus set down. We know that it is right, but one should not write it down. For yourself, sir, should be old as I am, if like a crab you could go backward. So, because Polonius is an old man, Hamlet is not. Hamlet is saying that if you grew back like a crab, uh, he feels that crabs can grow scales and become young again. I don't know what he's trying to mean here, but he's trying to surely confuse Polonius. Polonius feels that there is a lot of matter in Hamlet's ravings. It's not just without meaning, it's just that he can't make out the meanings. Though this be madness, yet there is method. You know, there's some consistency even in the inconsistency. Will you walk out of the air, my lord? So he, I don't know, he tries to tell Hamlet to go out of that room to have some air, but instead he tells, walk out of the air, my lord. Hamlet says that if it is out of the air, that means I'm out of life. That means I'm in my grave. Into my grave? Indeed, that is out of the air. Polonius says, wow, this man can have good reasoning power. How pregnant sometimes his replies are. Now, this from the very beginning, we have seen that you have a lot of sexual images, especially in connection with pregnancy and breeding, starting with those maggots. The son breeds maggots. Then he says that conception is a blessing, but your daughter will be in a scandal. So, there again, we have that image. Again, here, the word pregnant. So there's as if a kind of a sexual repression is going on here. And physical reproduction is considered to be risky, but mental fecundity, mental fertility, as you can say, which is emerging through madness, words, thought, and all that. And there's always a subtle tension going on. So society can limit physical conception, but when it comes to the mind, how can you trap the subversive fertility of the mind? And that is what Hamlet has here. So he's pregnant, okay, with words. A happiness that often madness hits on, which reason and sanity could not so prosperously be delivered of. Again, the word delivered. I will leave him and suddenly contrive the means of meeting between him and my daughter. My honorable lord, I will most humbly take my leave of you. So he decides to go away now and choreograph the meeting between Ophelia and Hamlet. He doesn't want Hamlet to know this. He just takes his leave. Hamlet says, you cannot take from me anything that I will more willingly part withal, except my life, except my life, except my life. Hamlet, when he's speaking to Polonius, he is mostly deliberately trying to be vague to make this old man even more confused. So Polonius leaves. Note again, the stage is not empty. So the scene doesn't end here. Hamlet is still on stage. After Polonius leaves, we have a very proper, short, brief sentence from Hamlet. These tedious old fools, such tiring old fools. A very appropriate assessment of Polonius, we must say. So somehow we have to take it that Hamlet is, at least not at this point, is not mad at all. So probably he was only playing with Polonius so far. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. The next segment starts, segment 4, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern with Hamlet. Now we know They have a mission. They have to understand why Hamlet is behaving in this way. So, after they exchange greetings, Hamlet asks about their whereabouts, how they have been. Good lads, how do you both? As the indifferent children of the earth. Happy in that we are not over happy. On Fortune's cap, we are not the very button. Button means the top. So we don't have a very happy life. Like we are not having the top of everything. Oh, we are having an okayish life. Now, after they start this image of Fortune's cap, it's like a metaphor here, or rather, I would say a personification. Fortune is like a person wearing a cap. They are not the very button, they are not at the top. Then Hamlet says, and Hamlet, I don't know, deliberately uh, gives a gender to Fortune, not the soles of her shoe. So you're not at the bottom of Fortune's feet, right? Neither, my lord. So we are having a so so life. Then you live about her waist or in the middle of her favors. Now, when you imagine a woman's body, this becomes a very sexualized image, okay? He's saying that you're not at the top, not at the bottom, so you're at the middle. Faith, her privates, we. So we can understand the kind of intimacy that Hamlet actually had with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. And actually, we are a bit surprised because so far Hamlet was in this very morose mood, very sober mood, sad, melancholic, and suddenly he is making this kind of sarcastic wordplay. But anyway, he's just talking about Fortune here. In the secret parts of Fortune, almost true, she is a strumpet. Usually, strumpet means prostitutes, women with loose morals who keep on changing partners. Fortune is a strumpet because Fortune, goes from one person to another. So she's compared to a strumpet. What's the news? None, my lord, but that the world's grown honest. Then is doomsday near. But your news is not true. Let me question more in particular. What have you, my good friends, deserved at the hands of fortune that she sends you to prison hither? So, what have you done? What wrong things have you done that you are sent to prison? Now they are saying, well, what prison? And Hamlet feels that Denmark is a prison. So they must have done something wrong that they are forced to come here. Prison, my lord? Denmark's a prison. Then is the world one. So the whole world is a prison. A goodly one. Yes, the world is a prison. It's a good prison. But in that good prison, we have bad rooms, and this happens to be the worst one. This Denmark. In which there are many confines, many confined spaces, wards and dungeons, Denmark being one of the worst. We think not so, my lord. Why then it is none to you. For me, it is a prison. For there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. To me, it is a prison. Now, there's nothing good and bad, and thinking makes it so. This kind of is very similar to what Milton would make Satan say in Paradise Lost much later, that it's mind which makes a heaven of hell or hell of heaven. So the idea of human mind being important was there in Shakespeare, was there in Milton. This was the spirit of the Renaissance, where you can say humanism or putting man at the center was important. So it was like a homocentric universe. Man, his mind mattered, not fortune, not fate, nothing. Your thinking will define how your life is. So, this thought was a very Renaissance thought which we see reflected in Hamlet's words. Why then your ambition makes it one? It is too narrow for your mind. Oh God, I could be bounded in a nutshell and count myself a king of infinite space were it not that I have bad dreams. So it's not the space, it's not that it's too small a space and I am ambitious. I can be happy even in a nutshell, but I have bad dreams. So I can't just find myself happy here. Which dreams indeed are ambition, for the very substance of the ambition is merely the shadow of a dream. Dream is itself like a shadow of what we think. And shadow of a dream is ambition. That is a driving force in you. So that's why you're finding this to be a prison. A dream itself is but a shadow. How can you say shadow of a dream? Truly, and I hold ambition of so airy and light a quality that it is but a shadow's shadow. So they are just playing with words. They're trying to convince Hamlet that it's a happy place, it's just your thinking. So you change your thinking, you change your ambition. Then are our beggars' bodies and our monarchs and outstretched heroes the beggars' shadows because they're ambitious. The king's monarchs, they're ambitious, and the beggars are not ambitious. So beggars are bodies, kings are shadows because they're ambitious. Shall we to the court? For by my faith, I cannot reason. Should we go to the court and try to get a verdict? Will wait upon you. No such matter. I will not sort you with the rest of my servants, for to speak to you like an honest man, I am most dreadfully attended. But in the beaten way of friendship, what make you at Elsinore? So he's directly telling them that he's not enjoying their company. He's saying that I am most dreadfully attended. Anyway, since you are my childhood friends, in the name of friendship, I'm just asking you, why have you come here? To visit you, my lord, no other occasion. Beggar that I am. I am even poor in thanks. But I thank you, and sure, dear friends, my thanks are too dear a halfpenny. So he knows. He knows that they have not come here just to see him. They were sent for. Were you not sent for? Is it your own inclining? Is it a free visitation? Come, deal justly with me. Come, come. Nay, speak. What should we say, my lord? See, they are already fumbling. Why? Anything but to the purpose. Say what is the truth. You were sent for, and there is a kind of confession in your looks. So we can see that Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, they are not at all good agents of spying. Okay, so their looks are already giving away their reality, which your modesties have not craft enough to color. So you don't have the ability to deceive me with your appearances, with your looks. I know the good king and queen have sent for you. To what end, my lord? That you must teach me. But let me conjure you, by the rights of our fellowship, by the rights of our friendship, by the consonancy of our youth, by the obligation of our ever preserved love, and by what more dear a better proposer could charge you withal, be even and direct with me, whether you were sent for or no. So he's giving them all the swearings as he can, like swear in the name of our friendship and all. Tell me that you were sent for. And now Rosencrantz is speaking to Guildenstern. And the way they are behaving, Hamlet can easily understand that they are hiding something. So Rosencrantz is speaking to Guildenstern. What say you? Uh, and Hamlet is again speaking to himself. Nay, then I have an eye of you. If you love me, hold not off. Guildenstern decides to tell the truth. My lord, we were sent for. I will tell you why. So shall my anticipation prevent your discovery, and your secrecy to the king and queen mold no feather. So I will tell you why you were sent for, so that you can be clear that you did not tell me. So you are okay with the king and queen, okay? I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth. I have stopped being cheerful. I don't know why. Forgone all custom of exercises. I am not following the behavior patterns I used to follow. And indeed, it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame, my body, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory. I'm not feeling excited like a young man. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave overhanging firmament, the sky above us, this majestical roof fretted with golden fire. Everything around him is beautiful, but he cannot understand their beauty anymore. Why, it appears no other thing to me than a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is man! People make this mistake. They think that its line comes in a soliloquy. It does not come in a soliloquy. It comes in a speech that Hamlet is giving to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. The interesting thing is that he has started speaking to them, But while speaking to them, he is sounding more and more as if he is not even aware that they are there. So it takes on the quality of a soliloquy without being a soliloquy technically. It's like it's a totally internalized anguish is coming through these words. What a piece of work is a man. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, how infinite in abilities, qualities, in form and moving, how express and admirable. Like human beings are capable of such expressions in their movements. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. Apprehension means humans have the ability to preconceive things, have educated guesses about what is going to happen. They can apprehend things. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet, to me, so everything that is beautiful has lost its beauty to him. Human beings, the most majestic of animals, what has that become for him? What is this? Quintessence of dust. Now, in the Bible, we have that expression, right? From dust we have come, and to dust we shall return. He can just see the dust, not what comes as a whole human package. Man delights not me. Now, when he says this, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they are probably, you know, making a smile, trying to put in a foolish statement like, we know women delight you. So he stops them and says, no, nor women neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. My lord, there was no such stuff in my thoughts. So the kind of behavior that we are seeing from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern is like they are not at all as philosophical, as deep thinking as Hamlet is. And in a way, they also become very comic figures in their replies, in their expressions, and all. Why did you laugh then when I said, man delights not me? To think, my lord, if you delight not in man, what Lenten entertainment the players shall receive from you? So, this is like a link to the next segment. When Hamlet says, men delight not me, Rosencrantz says that if men do not delight you, then how can men who are acting in a drama delight you? Because some players are coming to meet you. So you see how these links are taking the plot forward. We quoted them on the way, and hither are they coming to offer you service. He that plays the king shall be welcome. His majesty shall have tribute of me. The adventurous knight shall use his foil and target. So, yes, he is sick and tired of human beings, that is right, but he still feels that he has a lot of emotion for players. And he goes on saying that they will get the appropriate reaction from me when a king is playing his part, or rather, when a character is played on stage, the character of a king, he will get delight from that. Okay. The lover shall not sigh gratis. The lover will sigh on stage, but that sigh will not be fruitless because I will respond. The humorous man shall end his part in peace. The clown shall make those laugh whose lungs are tickled on the seer. And the lady shall say her mind freely, or the blank verse shall halt for it. What players are they? So Hamlet is suddenly sounding very excited, enthusiastic, and is really looking forward to meeting these players. Even those you were wont to take delight in, the tragedians of the city. So they are usually the ones who perform tragedies. Now, this is again very intimately connected to some kind of conditions that were going on around that time. Like the larger context, let me tell you. During the autumn of 1601, Shakespeare and his fellow players, they closed up their London theatre, and that is the Globe, and they traveled into the country. In fact, there is evidence that they visited Aberdeen in October, and a short time later, they even went to Cambridge. Now, traveling theatre groups, they will not held in high esteem. So unless and until you were compelled, you wouldn't just, move out into the country into a tour like that. So Hamlet here is saying that how chances it they travel, their residence, both in reputation and profit, was better both ways. So why are they traveling around? I think their inhibition comes by the means of the late innovation. So he is referring to some political and cultural changes in Denmark. We all know in Denmark the king had died, and for that maybe fixed theaters were closed down or something. So kind of instability in the world of drama was going on, theater world. Do they hold the same estimation they did when I was in the city? Are they so followed? People are still following these players? No, indeed, they are not. So they have lost their reputation a lot. How comes it? Do they grow rusty? So are they not being as good as they used to do before, perform before? Nay, their endeavor keeps in the wanted pace. Their uh, enterprise, their endeavor is okay. They are acting with the same kind of skill and everything. But there is, sir, an area of children, little ISS, that cry out on the top of question and are most tyrannically clapped for it. Now, ISS means here the younger actors who are not trained as the older ones. And Shakespeare had possibly in mind the performance by the children of Johnson's abusive plays, which were around this time. And like the old players are still performing, but the little group of children, little hawk chicks or ISS, who perform on stage and they're praised a lot, but they don't have that training that the old people have or the mature people have. So they are like this trending actors, the child actors. These are now the fashion, and so be rattle the common stages. So they call them that many wearing rapiers are afraid of goose quills and dare scarce come thither. So these child actors, they are carrying goose quills. So adult ones who are carrying swords or rapiers, they are also afraid of them. Okay. What? Are they children? Who maintains them? How are they escorted? Will they pursue the quality no longer than they can sing? Will they not say afterwards? So, if these children continue playing these important roles, then maybe someday they will grow up and just become ordinary actors, common players, and they will complain that their career was lost because of this trend, because they didn't have the chance to get trained and all. So, from this discussion, we see that Hamlet is very, very involved in all these kinds of uh, theater related or performance related trivia. And he's quite aware of all these things, and he's conversing with Rosencrantz, who also seems to have a lot of knowledge about these things. And Rosencrantz, he says that faith, there has been so much to do on both sides, and the nation holds it no sin to tar them to controversy. The idea of the players talking against the writers, these create controversies which actually add to the interest of the public, and these things are so very happening even today. If a film comes out and it has a lot of controversy, people rush to watch that movie. So that kind of things happened even in those days. No money bid for argument unless the poet and the player went to cuffs in the question. So the writer and the actors, unless they ended up fighting with each other, nobody would go and watch a play. Is it possible? Oh, there has been much throwing about of brains. Do the boys carry it away? So do they handle it? Ah, that they do. My Lord Hercules and his load too. The logo of Hercules carrying the globe, the logo of Globe Theatre, if you have seen it. An oblique reference to that, I guess. Although during Hamlet's time, during Rosencrantz time, the Globe Theatre wasn't there. But that is Shakespeare talking about his time. So, in Shakespeare's plays, we do have these moments, not very frequent, but we do have these moments. Usually, we have these moments in comedies. In tragedies, we see Shakespeare quite away from his characters. But in Hamlet, interestingly, we see Shakespeare sometimes really speaking directly to us as Shakespeare. We can see his time and we can see the way the world was changing in front of his eyes. So while writing about Hamlet, he was also, as I had told you once in a previous video, in one of my first videos, that it was his son that was probably always at the back of his mind. And along with it, his entire world was emerging through these kinds of comments. You can look at Shakespeare's world when you look deep into Hamlet's world. Now, the players are about to arrive, and Hamlet is happy about it. Anyway, he addresses Guildenstern and Rosencrantz again in an official way. Gentlemen, you are welcome to Elsinore. Your hands come then. The appurtenance of welcome is fashion and ceremony. Let me comply with you in this garb, lest my extent to the players, which I tell you must show fairly outward, should more appear like entertainment than yours. So he knows that the way he's going to greet the players is going to be more enthusiastic and all. You are welcome, but my uncle, father, and aunt, mother are deceived. The word uncle, father is bitter, but the word aunt, mother is even worse because it's not like the mother is a stepmother here. The mother is the real mother. How can you say that your real mother is also your aunt? So the distance that has grown. In what, my dear lord? I am but mad north northwest. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw. So he says that I'm faking madness selectively. This is what he says. Polonius comes back. And why has Polonius come back? He has come to give some news to Hamlet. My lord, I have news to tell you. My lord, I have news to tell you. Hamlet is also replying in a very funny way. When Roscius was an actor in Rome, the actors are come hither, my lord. We already know this because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern have already informed us, rather Hamlet, that the actors have come. Now, when Polonius gives this information, again he uses a very grand speech and he says, the best actors in the world, either for tragedy, comedy, history, pastoral, pastoral, comical, historical, pastoral, tragical, historical, tragical, comical, historical, pastoral, scene indivisible, or poem unlimited. Seneca cannot be too heavy, nor Plautus too light, for the law of writ and the liberty, these are the only men. With that huge speech, Hamlet is clearly frustrated and he calls him Jephthah. Jephthah is a very controversial character. I'll tell you what. We have this allusion to Jephthah if you look at Judges 11 in the Bible. Jephthah was he was a good person, but he made a very rash vow. He promised God that if he won a battle, he would sacrifice the first thing that came out of his house to greet him. When you get into your house, maybe your dog comes, your goat runs at you, your servant comes. He said, I would sacrifice whoever will come to greet me. But his daughter was the one who came to greet him, unfortunately. And it was more unfortunate because he really loved his daughter. So when Hamlet refers to Jephthah, he's not being mad at all. He knows that Polonius is about to sacrifice his daughter. But Polonius is not very aware of that biblical allusion. So he says, what a treasure had he, my lord? Why? One fair daughter and no more, the which he loved passing well. So Jephthah loved his daughter, but the daughter had to go away because of the sacrifice promised. Polonius says, oh God, again talking about my daughter. Am I not in the right, old Jephthah? If you call me Jephthah, my lord, I have a daughter that I love passing well. Nay, that follows not. What follows then, my lord? Why, as by lot, God wot. And then it came to pass, as most like it was. So that is not where it ends. It doesn't end with him having a treasure, a daughter whom he loved. It ends with something else, with that sacrifice. And then he doesn't say. He says that if you want to know, go and look up the Bible. The first row of the pious chanson will show you more. For look where my abridgment comes. I will not speak any more. Abridgment means something which cuts me short. My speech is cut short because of the arrival of the actors. So, four or five players come in, and well, Polonius is not given a clear explanation about Jephthah. You are welcome, masters, welcome all. I am glad to see thee well. Welcome, good friends. Oh, my old friend. So, here we see that Hamlet already has recognized a couple of them, and he, in fact, recognizes somebody as his old friend. And this old friend used to play the part of a woman. And we all know that during Shakespeare's time, women were not allowed, or rather, they did not perform on stage as actors. Instead of women, adolescent male actors or child actors whose voice had not yet cracked, they would perform as women on stage. So the problem is that if you were a young boy who used to act the part of women, one day you will grow up, you will grow a beard, your voice will crack, then you cannot perform as a woman anymore. Okay, so this is what's happened to this friend of his. Thy face is valenced since I saw thee last. So it's like you have, uh, it shows that you have a beard now. So your face is draped, bordered, fringed with the sign of beard. Comest thou to beard me in Denmark? What, my young lady and mistress? Now he's making fun of that actor who plays the role of women, and he calls him his lady and mistress. By your lady, your ladyship is nearer to heaven than when I saw you last. So obviously their height is also growing. Okay, and now they are closer to heaven, so they have grown more. They can't be appropriate as women actors anymore. By the altitude of a Chopin. So, Chopin is like that shoe with a thick sole. So, you have grown quite some inch. Pray God, your voice, like a piece of uncurrent gold, be not cracked within the ring. So, your voice might also crack very soon, and then you won't be able to play the part of a lady. Masters, you're all welcome. So we see Hamlet having genuine fun speaking to these people because, first of all, they are not from Denmark. No, they are bringing in a breath of fresh air from outside and making him feel that this is a momentary escape from the prison house that he is in, the prison called Denmark. We live into it like French falconers fly at anything we see. We'll have a speech straight. Now he wants the player to give him a speech, and he tells them which speech they should say, and you can just go through these lines. The way he has remembered the lines shows that he was really interested in drama. He had seen these performances. We see that Hamlet was a person who was genuinely an academician. He was connected to the world of academics, of theater, living a life like a teenager should and would. And is brought into this filth of politics and meeting these people from that world. He remembers those lines and he actually recites some of the lines. I'll come down to that part. The rugged Pyrrhus, like the Hyrcanian beast. So he's giving a speech from Aeneas's tale to Dido. The rugged Pyrrhus, like the Hyrcanian beast. It is not so. It begins with Pyrrhus. So he has forgotten a little, okay, and he wants to correct himself. The rugged Pyrrhus, he whose sable arms black as his purpose, and he goes on reciting. Now you might think that why is this important? Or how is this particular speech important? See, apparently it is not an important speech because he's just asking the fellow, like who is in front of him, to say the speech aloud, to look at the performance. But you can also say that the kind of things that this speech contains, especially you look at these lines, head to foot. Now is he total gules, horridly tricked with blood of fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, baked and impasted with the parching streets. The horror, the violence, everything that Hamlet sees in front of him, in Denmark is represented in this speech, and he wants this speech to be performed in front of him, to at least have a dramatic objectivity, a distance from it. It can be observed as something artificial, not real. Polonius, of course, is not very happy because he's bored, clearly. Because after the first player ends his speech, Polonius says, "This is too long." Hamlet says, "It shall to the barbers with your beard." Okay, we'll send the speech to the barbers to cut it off because it's too long for Mr. Polonius. He now wants to hear the speech of Hecuba. Hecuba was old Priam's wife, the queen of Troy. She was also, very sad and upset because of everything that was happening around. But who had seen the mobled queen? The mobled queen? That's good. Mobled queen is good. Polonus always has to speak, even when he is not wanted, even when he is not relevant, he will poke his nose. Okay. Anyway, then the first player, he goes on talking about, like, he gives this speech. If you summarize that speech, it's about Hecuba mourning the murder of her husband Priam and the destruction of Troy, and she's very open with overwhelming emotion. Okay, Hamlet, he begins to think that Hecuba is capable of such outburst, and he is seeing that outburst in the player who is acting. It is not like the player is suffering what Hecuba has suffered, but the player is capable of that outburst. He would rather think later that why am I not capable of any kind of outburst? So Hamlet, he wants Polonius to take care of the players, and he says that you should look after them. And Polonius says, "My lord, I will use them according to their desert. Whatever they deserve, I will look after that, that way." And Hamlet says, "Much better. Don't treat them like they deserve. Treat them better than that, because if human beings began to get what they deserve, then we will all be in a very bad place. Use every man after his desert, and who would escape whipping?" So if you actually look at all of us, we're all sinners, so we don't deserve anything good. So don't think about what they deserve, just treat them well. So Hamlet now says goodbye to them, except the first player, who is like quite friendly with Hamlet. So again, the stage is not empty, it's the final segment. Polonius exits with all the other players. Hamlet is alone on stage with this one single player, and he makes a request to him. "Dost thou hear me, old friend? Can you play the Murder of Gonzago?" "Aye, my lord." Murder of Gonzago was a play where a king is murdered. Okay, so Hamlet says, "Can you do that in front of us as a play?" "We'll have it tomorrow night. You could, for a need, study a speech of some dozen or 16 lines, which I would set down and insert in it, could you not?" So he wants them to perform the Murder of Gonzago, but he wants to add a speech of some 12 or 16 lines to customize it. You know, the word customization? Okay, to personalize it. The player says, "Fine." Now, for a player, just 12, 16 lines is not a big deal. "Very well, follow that lord," that is Polonius, "and look you mock him not, because he is quite a comic character." Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are still standing, so he tells them goodbye. After they exit, the stage is still not empty. Hamlet is standing there all by himself, and we have another soliloquy. And we are very curious by now. We are thinking that maybe when Hamlet is alone in front of us, we can really understand, is he truly mad or not? But why are we thinking like this? Why are we trying to diagnose Hamlet like everybody else? Because that has become the central question of the play already, don't you think? Now I am alone. It's like a relief. "Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I!" So he's calling himself a slave. "Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction?" So he's now thinking that, that player was giving such an emotional speech, okay, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit that from her working all his visage want, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, a broken voice, and his whole function suiting with forms to his conceit, that man playing the part was looking so real in his expression, was so loud, and all for nothing, for Hecuba. I mean, he was just giving a speech of Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him? Or he to Hecuba? I mean, he doesn't even connect to her, just a character. That he should weep for her? What would he do had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? How would he have behaved if, like, Hecuba is nothing to him, but he is wailing like anything, expressing himself? What would he have done if he had my motive? That means he feels that he's a slave. He's incapable of expression because he has so much to express, but he cannot. He would drown the stage with tears and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant. So then, that actor, if he had Hamlet, he was in Hamlet's situation. How much emotion he would have shown then if he can act in such an emotional way for a fictional character. If he had that in reality, what Hamlet is having, that trauma, how would he behave? He would drown the stage with tears. He would give horrid speech that would hurt people's ear, make mad the guilty. If anybody was guilty, he would be mad in front of him, and appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. Yet I, what am I doing? Yet I, a dull and muddy metalled rascal? So he calls himself weak, cowardly, incapable of acting. Before anybody judges Hamlet, trust me, Hamlet is judging himself every second. Like Jonah dreams unpregnant of my cause. Again, that same pattern of words chosen here. And can say nothing? No, not for a king, upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made. So it's like I am incapable of even uttering a word against this injustice. Am I a coward? That's a very, very important question. Who calls me villain? Breaks my pate across, plucks off my beard and blows it in my face, tweaks me by the nose, gives me the lie in the throat as deep as to the lungs. Who does me this? Ah, swoons! I should take it. So whoever calls me a coward, whoever calls me incapable of action, I accept because I know that is what I am. For it cannot be, but I am pigeon livered and lack gall. I lack courage. Earlier, people used to think that the gall that comes from your liver, bile, that helps you be courageous. Sight of courage is the liver. So he says that pigeon livered, so I don't produce enough bile to make oppression bitter. That's why oppression is not bitter. Now, bile is a bitter fluid. Okay, it comes from your liver. And he says that I don't have enough liver juice, so I don't have enough bitterness in me, so I'm not screaming and being emotional and expressing and taking action. Or this, I should have fatted all the region kites with this slave's offal. So he thinks that his life is worthless. Bloody body villain, remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless villain of vengeance. Why? What an ass am I? So he is calling Claudius all these things like a villain, and at the same time calling himself somebody who lacks courage. It is most brave that I, the son of a dear father murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words. So he thinks that he is not being a proper son. Because what is he doing? He knows that his father is murdered, but although heaven and hell has prompted him to revenge, he is just using words and he's calling himself a whore, a prostitute, and fall a cursing like a very drab, a scullion. Fie upon it. For about my brain. And then he is trying to justify why he has paused in his vengeance. He says, I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have, by the very cunning of the scene, been struck so to the soul that if you are a guilty person and you're watching a movie, or in this case, a play, then you will react if you see that something is happening in front of your eyes which reflects your sins, your transgressions, that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. For murder, though it have no tongue, will speak with most miraculous organ. So then that will be like a spoken admission of guilt. So he is devising something. His strategy is to have a proof. This means what? That he is not being hasty in revenge. He's trying to rationalize everything. I'll have these players play something like the murder of my father before mine uncle. I'll observe his looks. Now, does a mad person say all these things? No. It's a very, very reasonable strategy, not by a madman at all. And Hamlet is now alone on stage, so you can be well assured that at least at this moment, Hamlet is not mad. What is he saying? I'll observe his looks, I'll tempt him to the quick, if he but blench, and if he reacts. I know my course. Then I know for sure that what I'm going to do. The spirit that I have seen may be the devil. Now, this is where the scientific mind comes into play. He tends to overthink, but look at it from his point of view. He's an educated person, and scientific temperament was a part of academia, at least during the Renaissance. So, he wants to make double sure. He says that maybe the ghost I've seen, he's not saying that I have not seen a ghost. He says, yes, I've seen a ghost. But maybe that ghost is a devil. It's not my father's ghost, really. Somebody who looks like my father or takes up the look of my father comes to deceive me. And the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. That is, maybe he just took my father's shape. Yeah, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me. So maybe it's the Satan who has come dressed as my father just to win my soul, because if I commit a murder without being sure, maybe Claudius is not guilty, and I kill him, then my soul belongs to the devil. The devil must have come for that. Who knows? I'll have grounds more relative than this. The play is the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. So while a prince has all the weapons in the world, a sword, a rapier, a dagger, knife, he chooses a play to provide him with evidence. So it is an important dramatic moment. The audience is given an alternative way to establish Claudius's guilt or innocence, not based on superstition, not based on relative belief, but based on reason and logic. And the shift from despair to strategy is quite observable here. And the greatest irony is that the weapon Hamlet chooses to use is the weapon of the playwright. And as I was telling you, Hamlet is one of the rarest tragedies where you'll keep on encountering Shakespeare the man if you look deep enough. So the conscience of the king is to be judged by the artificial world of theater and not the real world, which is full of chaos. So you have so many things happening on stage, and it's like chaos is represented directly in front of our eyes. Figure of Polonius emerging both as comic and malicious. You have constant air of suspicion everywhere. The son doesn't trust the mother doesn't trust the son. The friends are not trustworthy. The daughter is going to be used as a political weapon. And the world of drama is providing answers to questions that the real world cannot solve. So while the actors are bringing in a breath of fresh air, a way out of that confined space, Hamlet struggles between passion and reason. And now that we have reached the end of the scene and also the end of the second act, we are looking forward to the act which is supposed to contain the climax of the play, the third act. And it will be very interesting to note how the action is built up even further. Stay subscribed because I'm going to come back very soon with the next video. Till then, stay happy, stay safe. This is Monami Mukherjee signing off. Bye bye.